We just getting started, baby. Did anybody see what Mr. Wardell Steph Curry did to the Portland Trail Blazers? They were nobodies. They beat the Giants. Trash. They beat the Broncos. Trash. If you ever watched Dragon Ball Z, my man's was Super Saiyan. I couldn't wear this until we actually caught a dub. And he did all of this damage in 36 minutes. Let that sink in. They beat the Eagles, trash. The Cowboys, trash. The Bengals, trash. The Jaguars, trash. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here on Rob's 2 Cents. My good people, my good people. Hello, world. I'd like to welcome you guys back to the show that's hot with your boy Rob Scott. This is Rob's 2 Cents. What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody is living right in the COVID streets. I know out here in Chicago, we finally caught a break on the weather. Thank God. We've been having some chilly weeks these past weeks, man. But luckily today, I believe it got up to 37 degrees, 40 degrees. I know. To hear somebody say that it's a good day at 37 or 40 degrees is absurd. But that's the type of life we live in Chicago. When it gets a little nice outside, we get happy. The ice is starting to melt. I'm having a problem right now. I injured my foot. Lord Jesus, I almost slipped. Caught myself from falling, but planted my foot the wrong way. And now I'm feeling like Joakim Noah with that plantar fasciitis. God, my foot is killing me. But you know that's not going to stop me from bringing you the hottest sports conversation in the nation. Also, on a good note, I just bought me a backdrop. So within the next week, I should say, hopefully by next week, I have my new backdrop set up. Going to have a more professional looking set. And I'm definitely excited, man. Some big things happening for Rob's 2 Cents in 2021. But I know what you came here for, and I'm going to tell you also it's some big things happening for a certain team out there, and that would be the Brooklyn Nets, because right now Brooklyn is on fire. They had a big win against the Clippers this past Sunday evening, and we're going to talk about what went down in this game. Now, the Brooklyn Nets right now, they're playing on a different level. They were on a 5-game win streak going into Sunday's night primetime game against the Los Angeles Clippers. The Nets are still without Kevin Durant. However, the Clippers had their 2 stars back on the lineup, lineup and in the starting lineup, being Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Now, these players came back Friday. They played Friday against the Utah Jazz in a game that they won when the Jazz were able to take the first game. The Clippers came back and won the back-to-back game, welcoming back their 2 superstars. And the stars were definitely out for this game because both teams, both pairs of superstars put on a show. The Nets were able to get a big W against the Clippers, with the final score being 112-108. And we're going to look at the box score and see exactly what went down. Now, James Harden, he had 37 points, which led all scores. He also had 7 assists, 11 rebounds, 2 steals. He was 13 of 25 from the field, 4 of 9 from the three-point line, and 7 of 11 from the free throw line. Now, I know that's a little low for James Harden. I believe that's like 64%. However, James Harden will be A-okay. Kyrie, on the other hand, looked like he tried to force the issue. He was able to get 28 points. He had 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 1 steal. I think James Harden is rubbing off on Kyrie. You see the 8 assists, not a guy known to pass the ball. But he was 12 of 26 from the field, 2 from 11 from the three-point line, and he did hit the 2 free throws that iced the game, which we'll discuss a little later in this segment. Kawhi Leonard had 29 points, 3 assists, 13 rebounds, 1 steal. He was 9 of 19 from the field, 5 of 9 from the three-point line, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. And Paul George had 34.7 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 steal, but he had 6 turnovers. He was 12 of 19 from the field, 4 of 9 from the three-point line, and 6 of 8 from the free throw line. This was a great game. It was pretty close. It was pretty back and forth throughout the whole game till we got to the fourth quarter. The Nets were able to pull away till about 9 points. And then, like I said, Kyrie started to force the issue. I believe he shot too many shots, and he actually shot Brooklyn out of the game, and the Clippers were able to capitalize, and the Clippers were able to almost tie the game up. They were down two with about 10 to 5 seconds left, and Kawhi made a great drive towards the rim. However, he got called for charging offensive foul against James Harden, who, in my personal opinion, he flopped. That was some great acting by James Harden, but nonetheless, he was able to get the charge called on Kawhi Leonard. They fouled Kyrie. Kyrie was able to go to the free throw line and ice the game. Now, if we look at the Nets, this was their fourth game without Kevin Durant. But with the way Harden and Kyrie are playing, if I'm the Nets, I'm gonna continue to let KD get as much rest as he needs to. I believe the Brooklyn Nets organization is smart right now in that aspect of not trying to rush Kevin Durant back, so we can put on a fiasco, so we can put on a show for these fans. Let KD get healthy. Let KD rest that hamstring. Luckily, it's not an injury to his calf. Luckily, it's not an injury to the Achilles. Then I would have more cause for concern. But it's just a hamstring injury, according to the medical doctors for the Brooklyn Nets. Let him rest that. Get as much time as he need on the bench until he's ready to come back at 100%. Now, the Nets, on the other hand, they're on a 6-game winning streak, and they made history going 5-on-5 on their Western Conference road trip, being the only team to do that since the Chicago Bulls did back in 2010, which was the year before D Rose had that MVP year. The Nets beat the Golden State Warriors, they beat the Kings, they beat the Suns, and now they have beaten both LA teams, being the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, out of those 5 teams I just named, 4 of those teams are in playoff contention. So it's not like the Nets are just beating up on bums. The Nets are clicking on all cylinders and will even get scary, even more scary when KD makes his return back to action. As for the Clippers, on the other hand, they're currently sitting in 3rd place in the West, half a game above Phoenix, who currently sit in 4th, 3 games behind Utah, who's the best team in the West and also the best team in the league. Now, if they can stay healthy, we might see this rematch a game in the finals. What it comes down to, what it always comes down to for most teams, can we stay healthy enough to make it to the finish line? Going to be keeping our eyes on these 2 franchises to see what they're going to be doing in the future. But I know I mentioned the Bulls, and I mentioned the Bulls and what they were able to accomplish back in 2010. But let's talk about the Bulls and what they're able to accomplish now, because right now they're being led by Zach Lavine, and Zach Lavine has been on fire. He's been on a tear this year. I believe he's trying to make a case to become an all-star. But the Bulls right now are looking to become a part of that playoff picture. They're currently sitting in 9th place, 1 game behind the Charlotte Hornets, who currently sit in 8th place. And if the season ended today, technically the Bulls would be in playoff contention, as they'll be a part of that play-in style tournament to see who's going to be making it to the playoffs as the bottom seed. Now, the Bulls are 3-2 in their last 5 games, and that's largely due to what Zach Lavine has been able to do with his huge scoring output. Let's look at what Zach Lavine last 5 games has been and the type of tear that he's been on. Against the Clippers, they lost 125-106. The Clippers were led by Kawhi Leonard, who just was too much for them, scoring 33 in that game, leading all scorers. However, Zach Lavine had 26 points, shooting over 50% from the field and the 3-point line, respectively. But they were able to get back to some winning ways when they went against the Indiana Pacers, who are now a powerhouse in the Eastern Conference, is sitting at 4th place in the East. The Bulls won in overtime, 120-112. Zach Lavine had 30 points, shooting 11-25 from the field, 4-9 from the 3-point line. Now, against the Pistons, they were able to get a back-to-back W, because the Bulls were able to get their second W in a row, winning 105-102. They were able to sustain the first half tear put on by Jeremy Grant, who put on a show for that game, who ended the game with 43 for the night. But the Bulls also not only had to contend with Jeremy Grant, they also came back from a 25-point deficit, and again were able to knock the Pistons right out of the park. Dan Lavine had, for that game, he had 37 points, on 14 to 22 from the field, and he was 4-6 from the three-point line. Zach Lavine has been playing out of his mind. Now, against the 76ers, they lost 112 to 105. Lavine had 30, but this was his worst shooting game in these stretch of games, as he shot 9 to 28 from the field, which is 32%, 2 of 10 from the three-point line, which is 20%. And unfortunately, they had to go against a Joel Embiid, who decided to have his career high when he scored 50, nifty 50 on the Bulls' tater top. Joel Embiid was playing out of his mind that night, and if he plays like that all the time, it's going to be hard for a lot of teams to beat the 76ers. Now, if we look at what he did against the Sacramento Kings, Zach Lavine got back to his business. And what is his business? That's scoring buckets. He went for 38 points against the Kings, handing them their sixth consecutive loss, winning 122 to 114. He shot 75% from the field, 50% from the three-point line, and 100% from the free throw line. We ain't seen them type of numbers since Steph. Zach Lavine has made a case to be an all-star this year, and the Bulls are playing good basketball at the moment. Not going to say great, but they're playing good basketball at the moment. Now, if the Bulls make it to the playoffs, let's be honest, not only is that going to be a successful year for this organization, that's going to be a successful year for Coach Billy Donovan. Let's see if the Bulls are able to maintain. As I mentioned before, they're just a game back behind Charlotte, and it's going to be interesting to see if the Bulls can work their way up to at least the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference, because the Eastern Conference is not as stacked as it is out there in the West. And the Bulls seem to be trending upward, which is a great deal, because that's the direction that you want to be going in. You want to be going up, not down. But speaking of domination, speaking of a stretch of games in which a player is just playing out of his mind, how can we speak about domination without mentioning the man-child known as Zion Williamson? Because, ladies and gentlemen, my good people, beast mode has been activated. Zion Williamson has made history by being the only player in the NBA to average 23 points or more on 60% or better from the field through their first 50 career games. Wow. Also, we saw what he did on Sunday afternoon against the Boston Celtics, as he was able to go off in the second half after a slow start and led his Pelicans to an overtime victory, winning 120 to 115. What did Zion do that game? Oh, he only had 28 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, not to mention a clutch layup in the fourth after he bullied Tristan Thompson out of his spot and told him to let me get this bucket. Zion Williamson, that boy cold. And the Pelicans have been playing some okay basketball. Now, even though Zion has been on a bit of a tear as of recently, as of all season, I should say, the Pelicans have had some problems with their inconsistencies, because right now their inconsistencies lie in the deficiencies that they have on the defensive side of the ball. They need to figure out how to generate more defense in order for them to be successful, because they have a bright young future with the young core they have, consisting of Zion, B.I., Brandon Ingram, and Lonzo Ball. Let's hope that the Pelicans are able to make some offseason moves, because I don't believe that they'll be making the playoffs this year, this season. They're going to be looking towards next year for a playoff opportunity. Now, this is a conversation that I've been wanting to speak about for a while, actually, since I began doing Rob's 2 cents. And this is on the clutchness of LeBron and where his clutchness ranks him when it comes to the GOAT conversation. Now, we've known LeBron to pass the ball in clutch situations. One of the points that people will bring up is his lack of a clutch gene when it comes to comparisons of Michael, Kobe, and LeBron. Now, numbers would say LeBron is the clutchest performer in NBA history. But what does your eyeball test tell you? Because my eyeball test tells me that's not the case. Now, if we look back at the times that LeBron has chosen to opt out of being clutch and pass to a teammate in a situation, in a clutch situation, and clutch by the NBA is defined as, under 5 minutes left in the game and, down 4 or 5 points. However, I look at clutch as when I need a bucket, we have 2 minutes left on the clock. We're down a couple buckets. Who can I rely on to go get us, to bring us home, to bring us to the promised land? That's not LeBron. Now, granted, LeBron is a great player, and I would never talk down about the things that LeBron has contributed or contributed to the NBA. But LeBron chooses to pass to his teammates in these situations. And I'm willing to bet you, if you think about LeBron passing the ball to a teammate in a clutch situation, you're going to come across game one in the 2018 NBA Finals when it gets the Golden State Warriors. When he was still a part of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, on that fateful night with about 10 seconds left on the clock, LeBron had the ball at the top of the key with Steph Curry guarding him. Yes, Steph Curry guarding him. Now, we saw what just happened against the Brooklyn Nets. Well, we saw what happened against Steph Curry when Kyrie was playing with Cleveland and what Kyrie did to Steph. He took advantage of Steph because he knew Steph couldn't guard him. For some reason, LeBron didn't want to do that. So even though KD and Draymond was there to help defense with Steph Curry, LeBron still had enough of an angle where he could have drove and just stopped and just rise right above Steph Curry and knock down an open jumper. However, that was not the case. He saw George Hill make a baseline cut, and LeBron proceeded to pass him the ball, and Hill was fouled with 4.6 seconds left on the clock. We know that Hill will only make one out of his 2 free throws, hitting the first, missing the second. JR would get the rebound, and the rest is history. We know about JR's Hennessy moment. But if we look at game 2 of last season's Western Conference Final against the Nuggets, LeBron didn't so much defer to Anthony Davis with the pass rather than defer to him within the play. The Lakers had the ball out. I believe it was like 2 seconds or 1.7 seconds, I guess, for them to shoot the ball. Instead of LeBron being the person to get the ball, he kind of acted as a decoy, and Anthony Davis was able to come off a screen, rise up, hit the three. He hit the three, so nobody remembers that play because he hit that shot. But I'm willing to bet my last dollar that I had LeBron not taking that shot and AD missed that shot, the media would have chewed LeBron up, and rightfully so. You're the best player on this team. You need to be the one taking that shot. I'd rather you take that shot than the Alex Caruso. I'd rather you take that shot than a Danny Green. I'd rather you take that shot than a Caldwell Pope. I just rather my best player. I'm going to live and die with what my best player does. Not to mention Game 5 of the Finals versus the Heat. The Lakers had a game. They were up 3-1 going into Game 5, wearing the Mamba jerseys. At that point, they were undefeated in their Mamba jerseys. What did LeBron do? He had a chance to hit the game-winning drive, but instead he decided to kick the ball out to Danny Green. Now, even though Danny Green is a good shooter, I won't go as far as to say great, but he is a proven champion. He's won rings at every franchise he's played with. We've yet to see if that's going to happen with Philadelphia, but that's a fact. He played with Toronto, he won a ring. He played with San Antonio, he won a ring. He played with the Lakers, he won a ring. Danny Green is a winner. However, the stars were not aligned for him that night because Danny Green missed the three-point shot. And what happened to LeBron? LeBron got chewed up, ate up, and spit out because he didn't take that shot himself. And again, we saw the same thing this past Saturday, ironically against the Heat again in a finals rematch. The Heat were able to win 96-94. Why? Because a game in which the last play was designed for LeBron, he again deferred to another player. This time it was Alex Caruso, who, in my honest opinion, He didn't look like he was ready for that ball. I think they had an exchange where LeBron passed him the ball. He passed it back, and LeBron passed it back to Alex Caruso. Caruso didn't want that smoke. He did not want that pressure moment to be relied. He didn't want to be relied on in that pressure moment. However, LeBron forced the issue. Alex Caruso, being aware of the time, had no other choice but to shoot the ball. He missed the shot, of course, and this was another case in which LeBron deferred to another player to take care of his business, I should say. Now, I'm never going to sit up here and say that those plays wasn't the right play. Okay? LeBron is a Magic Johnson-esque type player. He's going to make the right play. I'm surprised, I honestly am, that LeBron was able to score 35,000 points being a pass first type player, but that just speaks to the greatness of how LeBron is. However, when it comes to clutch gene, that is what separates him from the Mikes. That's what separates him from the Kobe's. LeBron doesn't have that clutch gene. LeBron doesn't have that dog in him that says, "Hey, you know what? Give me the ball. Everybody get out of my way, and I'm gonna make something happen." This is what separates him from Mike and Kobe, because even though as a player you know that this last play is going to be designed for Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, we know they're going to get the ball, and they get the ball and there's still nothing you can do about it. They're going to score, and sometimes score at ease. Now, LeBron is still going down as one of the Mount Rushmores of the NBA history. His face will be etched in those in that gray cement as one of the hierarchy players in the league, as one of the greatest to ever do it. But he's not the clutch guy to me. He's not the scorer that MJ or Kobe was, even though he surpassed both players as the leading scorer in the NBA, sitting at third right now at 35,000 points. However, I believe that's a longevity award and not so much I can outscore you. We saw what Kobe did on his last game. The man went for 60, man. He continued to rest in peace. But I would like to see before LeBron's career over, hey, clear everybody out and you continue and you call the play for yourself, even if the coach ain't call you the number. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say we haven't seen situations in which LeBron has been clutch. However, I want to see that on more of a consistent basis rather than him passing the ball to somebody who's not expecting to shoot at all. A couple quick hitters before we end the show tonight or today for the people that's going to be watching Tuesday morning. Our thoughts and prayers right now with Coach Mike Tomlin from the Pittsburgh Steelers, as we found out that he's been diagnosed with the COVID-19 virus. I'm happy that it's not during the season where we have to spend time away from his team, time away from his job and his obligations as the head coach of this franchise, known as the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, I hope Mike Tomlin is able to use this offseason to get plenty of rest. Make sure you drink your fluids, take your meds, and we hope to see you when the season begins standing right there on the sideline as the head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Get well soon, Coach, and our thoughts and prayers are with you at this time. Also, Luka Doncic was voted a starter over Damian Lillard in the All-Star game. Did the fans get it right? Now, as we know, when it comes to All-Star voting, the media accounts for 25% of the vote. The players account for the other 25% of the vote. And the fans account for 50% of the vote. And the fans decided to go with Luka over Damian Lillard. Luka is more of a household name. And if we look at what they've been doing this season, Luka on the year averaging 29.1 points a game, 8.6 rebounds, 9.4 assists. Dallas is currently sitting at 10th in the West with a record of 13-15. But if the season ended today, the Dallas Mavericks are not completely out of the playoff picture, as they will be in the play-in tournament to determine who will get that last seed in the Western Conference playoff picture. And then if we look at Dame Dollar on the year, he's averaging 30 points, 4.5 rebounds, 7.9 assists a game. And the Portland Trail Blazers are currently fifth in the West with a record of 18 and 11. Now, if you look at their numbers just on the individual standpoint, Luka is having a better year than Damian Lillard. He's at 29 points. Lillard's at 30. However, you look at the rebounds, you pretty much have Luka averaging 9 rebounds and 9 assists in comparison to Dame's 8 assists and 5 rebounds. So right now, I agree with what the fans voted. Both players are exciting to see. Luka Doncic just happens to be more of a household name than Damian Lillard. But both players are great, and you wouldn't have went wrong with either choice. Also, special shout out to Dame Dollar because, bro, the brother got talent. Damian Lillard is a cold rapper. He's nice on the mic. And I just got to get a man his flowers while he here. Y'all go check him out. If you go check out his Facebook page, check out the videos on YouTube. He is under there as Dame Dollar. That's D.O.L.L.A. Check him out. Dame Dollar is a lyricist, and I just love hearing how he raps about, coming from the bottom, getting it out the mud, because I myself am somebody who wasn't born on the top, born with the silver spoon. You got to hustle for what you want. If you don't hunt, you don't eat. You eat what you kill. Dame, you keep on doing your thing on the music side, brother. You definitely got some ears over here appreciating the good music that you put out for the folks. Also, Adrian Broner, after a 2-year hiatus, had his first match against Giovanni Santiago, in which he won with a unanimous decision as the bout went to 12 rounds. Now, Adrian to me looked pretty good in this fight. Adrian was able to control the fight later on with his jab, even causing a cut right above Santiago's eye, catching him, I believe, in the 7th or 8th round with a nice counter punch, which almost knocked Santiago down to the ground. Santiago was able to catch himself. He put up a great fight as well. He put the pressure on Adrian Broner in earlier rounds of this bout. However, the experience was just too much. As you can tell, even though Adrian Broner has been out for 2 years, he was able to calm down and he started to set the pace within this fight. A lot of critics are saying that they believe Santiago was robbed in this match. However, even Santiago admitted that he lost fair up. He lost fair and square. He complimented Adrian on being a great, accomplished fighter, and that Adrian Broner that night was indeed a problem. Now, I hope Adrian Broner is able to stay on the straight and narrow, because I believe if he goes back under, showing up to fights unprofessionally, not making weight, showing up overweight, he's not gonna get the chances, those second and third chances that he's been afforded to now. On a good note, though, he looked very good in this fight. Came in great, excellent shape. Had great cardio. Was able to keep the pressure, especially later on in the bout, where I believe he started to take over this fight. So if he continues to win these fights against these fighters who's not on his level as of yet, I believe he will start to get the big names to call him out. Possibly a Broner Pacquiao rematch, or a Broner and Marco Madonna rematch, which I would enjoy watching that. I would hope Broner comes in ready to fight. But we're going to be keeping our eyes on Adrian Broner in hopes that he can turn his career around and get back to his old winning ways. Remember, he is a 4-time champ in 4 different divisions. So Adrian Broner is no slouch when it comes to the world of professional boxing. Also on Friday night, we saw 2 men go for career highs as each man scored 50 points on that night of February 19th. We saw Joel Embiid score 50 against the Bulls, and Jamal Murray score 50 points on Cleveland. Let's look at their box score and tell you how they got it done. Joel Embiid was 17 to 26 from the field, 1 or 2 from the 3-point line, had 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks. Lord Jesus, Joel Embiid was playing out of his mind. That's MVP Joel right there. That's the guy that Shaq has been asking to come out of his shell. We need you to play like this all the time, Joel, especially if you guys plan on taking out the Nets. But Jamal Murray, not to be undone. He was 21 of 25 from the field, 8 of 10 from the three-point line. That's 80%. Yeesh. 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 turnovers with only 2 steals with only 1 turnover. Jamal Murray had himself a game. Unfortunately for both of these players, though, after their epic career nights, both teams lost on Sunday evening as Denver lost to Atlanta and Philly lost to Toronto. Again, especially when it comes to Denver, those inconsistencies that I spoke about. Denver come out and score buckets, and they'll make you think that that's the playoff team you saw in the bubble. But indeed, it was just an aberration. Denver got back to its inconsistent ways. Also with Minnesota, they fired their head coach Ryan Saunders on Sunday night after a loss to the Knicks. As we know, Ryan Saunders is the son of legendary and late great coach Flip Saunders. Saunders had a record of 43-94 since taking over as coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He took over midway through 2018 and 2019 season when Coach Tom Thibodeau was fired. Minnesota are currently the worst team in the league, sitting at 7-24 on the season, and it's ironic that Ryan Saunders was fired going against the Knicks because we see that he took over when Tom Thibodeau was fired, and Tom Thibodeau is the head coach of who? The New York Knicks. So I guess it's he who laughs best, I guess you could say. Oh, that's a tongue twister. Try to say that 5 times. But there's a promising light at the end of the tunnel because Minnesota does have a great young core. They've been riddled with injuries so far. D'Angelo Russell, D'Loden has been out of the lineup due to injury. We know the situation, very, very tough situation that Cat has been facing. Karl Anthony Towns, losing family members, including his mother, to COVID-19. I believe at one point in time he had COVID-19. So it's just been very tough. They haven't had their whole lineup this year. But one of the things that do look promising is Cat is back. I don't think D'Angelo Russell is going to be back anytime soon, but that stud that they drafted number 1 in Anthony Edwards. Did you see the dunk that he did on the Toronto Raptors? Oh, Lord Jesus. If it wasn't for copyright infringement, I'll show you guys this dunk. But just make sure you go on YouTube and just search Anthony Edwards dunks on the Raptors. That was probably the best dunk of the season and one of the better dunks I've seen in a long time. I haven't seen a person get body bagged like that since Brandon Knight got body bagged by DeAndre Jordan when he caught that alley-oop. Lord Jesus. Anthony Edwards, I didn't know you could jump that high, my friend. But hopefully Minnesota can get some winning happening over there in that organization, and maybe a head coach change might be what the doctor ordered. And as we wind down to the end of this show, as you know, I've been paying tribute to athletes of color during this Black History Month. Yes, my good people, it's still Black History Month. Wakanda forever, rest in peace, Chad. And in this week's episode, I'm going to talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was formerly known as Fernandad Lewis Alcindor Jr., but most people know Kareem before Kareem as Lou Alcindor. He is a 3-time NCAA champion. He's also a 6-time NBA champion, 1 with Milwaukee and 5 with the legendary Showtime Lakers. He's a 2-time NBA champ as an assistant coach with the LA Lakers back in 2009 and 2010. As you know, that was the year Kobe went back-to-back when he won his second pair of rings without the big man Shaquille O'Neal. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the all-time leading scorer in the NBA. So that is the guy that LeBron is chasing right now on his road to score buckets. Now, in Life After Basketball for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he wrote many novels about the empowerment of African Americans in this country, our achievements in this great nation, and he even educated us on the lost history of black American inventors. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his work acting as ambassador. Who was He was placed in that position by Hillary Clinton, and also he was placed on the Presidential Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition, along with Gabby Douglas and other athletes around the world. Mr. Jabbar has truly set the bar for how a black man should carry himself. He carries himself with class, with dignity, with pride, and he's definitely a polarizing figure that when he walks in a room, regardless of his height, you know that you're in a room with someone great. He did also have some stints in Hollywood, most notably Bruce Lee's Game of Death, which a lot of people have probably been seeing lately. Is a video that's been surfacing around again when he showed that he was not just doing it for the movie, but Kareem actually studies martial arts. He's always done great things with the youth, doing more, not just for black people, but for all communities around America. He stands proud as a proud black Muslim man. As you know, he practices Islam, which is the reason he turned his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he's even done work standing up for Muslims in their time of need. We know Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He does a lot of talking on these not sports net, I'm sorry, but on these news outlets, and he discusses the inequality and the injustices that he sees for the black man and woman in this country, and he stands up for us, and he stood up for the Muslim religion and Muslim faith as well, letting people know that everybody that practices Islam does not practice hate. Islam is a religion of love, and even though I don't personally follow Islam, I'm not mad at the fact that he's standing up for what he believes in, and doesn't want you to condemn all Muslims because you have a few bad apples in the bunch. That'll be like condemning all cops because this cop decided to shoot an unarmed black man, which is what we try to stay away from. I know the great saying that one spoiled apple ruins the bunch, but that should not be the case. Looking at every person who owns a badge as a bad person, or looking at every person that practices Islam and studies and is a devout Muslim, not terrorists, and every person that's black is not a thug. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a very smart man, and as I said before, he is class personified, and he shows us as young black men on how to carry ourselves, not just publicly, but just through America, to change that narrative that we are just savages. And I appreciate everything Kareem has done for people in this country, and that he continues to stand up and speak on issues that most people won't speak on. And I appreciate you, Mr. Jabbar. And I definitely wanted to give you your flowers while you're still here with us, to let you know that your teachings and the things that you say, whether you're teaching the younger athletes on how to become businessmen, or talking to youth and discussing on how they should carry themselves in this country. We appreciate the things that you've done for us and the great strides that you've made for the black man in this country. Mr. Abdul-Jabbar, you are definitely appreciated in Black History Month. And ladies and gentlemen, that's my show. I appreciate you guys for sticking around. As I mentioned, can't wait to get this backdrop. We're going to be looking professional, baby. I told you guys there are big things popping in 2021 for Rob's 2 cents. I appreciate you guys tuning in for the hottest sports conversation in the nation. Make sure you like the video, share the video, subscribe to the video. Come on, my people. Don't just show up and watch this for 4 seconds. Give your boy a chance. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. And if you don't like it, leave a comment and tell me where I can get better. All criticism is welcomed over here, because that's the only way you get better. I appreciate you guys once again. Hope you guys have a great and productive week. Make sure you tune in on Saturday as we'll be filming the newest episode of Rob's 2 Cents. You know how I do it, baby. We got to keep working, baby. Hope you guys have a great one. You already know the slogan. Stay great and we gone. There's a bigger fight going on. There's a much bigger agenda than the streets. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that far in front of us, but we have to look past the illusions, look past the delusions of grandeur, and look at the bigger picture. We need to become better versions of ourselves each and every day. Fight for what you believe in, because if you're staying for nothing, you'll fall for anything. We just getting started, baby. You guys know the slogan now. Hope you all have a great evening, and we gone.